So I'm Morgan Calhoun of Sweet Texas Treasures, which is a brand and a boutique. Like she said, I sparked this whole thing through just, seriously, I was teaching high school fashion design, and I had this vintage fabric and just made a onesie in class, and I felt awful about it, and because I was like, this is not, of course I was teaching sewing, but at the same time I was like, this is not part of the lesson today, but it sparked into something. People saw the designs and they were like, wow, I want my baby to have one of those. So I just kind of started making them all the time. So today we're talking about Flatlays and store branding. When it comes to Sweet Texas Treasures, I hope that people associate that with Hispanic culture, colorful, vibrant things, and that's what I try to portray through my Flatlays for the most part. It's kind of funny to me that, say the cow skull one there on the left has been more of a Western kind of thing, which works for me. I'm in a very rural town, but yeah. So I'm from originally Pasadena, Texas, which I was the only blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl in my entire school. But I took on the Hispanic culture, and I even had a fiesta-themed wedding, so I thought I would show y'all my inspiration was that dress, and I just went with it. People were like, did you marry a Hispanic person? I'm like, no, I just, So like she said, I worked for Urban Outfitters. I actually interned with them due to the fact that they were all about who had been there the longest before you get promotion. And I'm sure, does anybody in here have any college kids working for them right now? Like I do, and they feel entitled, right? And I remember feeling like that. Like I have a fashion merchandising degree, and I'm going to, they should be paying me salary because I have the knowledge, but that's not how the world works. So I did my time with Urban, never really saw that in return, and ended up moving to Dillard's. I started at Dillard's as a handbag associate. I could sell you a handbag and you would think it was the greatest thing in the world. And then they eventually, this is kind of funny, but they told me, this customer, she was a personal shopper there in the Woodlands, and she said, I was like, I want to move up, I want to be the visual manager, and she was like, Morgan, take that thing out of your face. And I had a giant Monroe piercing. I'm the black sheep of my family, so I had this piercing that I just wouldn't let go. Well, it was that lady that I took it out of my face. I stepped up my game on how I was dressing. I looked the part, and literally within 2 months, I got promoted to the visual manager. So I was responsible for the way the entire store looked. I worked there were 2 visual managers there at Dillard's in the Woodlands, and I was kind of in the training mode, and she moved me to College Station Dillard's. So I worked there for a while, and then kind of bounced around with Dillard's for about 4 years. Well, after working with mannequins for so long, they do not talk to you. I have realized that I am a people person. I want to talk to people. I want to sell things. I want to make people feel good about themselves. And so I decided, somebody was like, you should get your teacher certification. I was like, okay, what do I have to lose? Signed up for this program called Texas Teachers. It was literally, I signed up in December. I landed a job at Klein High School in spring and started up this fashion design class, and it was kind of chaotic, which led to the onesie. So I would say, of course, which this is my store now, like she said, all the production of my designs go on in the back of house of my store, which is very hard, juggling everything in that store. But yes, so the picture in the middle is the onesie. To this day, it is hanging in the store. Customers ask me all the time, can I buy it? And I'm like, no, it is horrendous compared to the ones that I make now. But I found out that I had this passion for just vintage things. So the term sweet Texas treasures actually derives from like one man's trash is another man's treasure, and sweet's my favorite word, and Texas is the best, no offense to anybody. But so I made this onesie, and I became obsessed with taking pictures of my daughter wearing items. It was like I would shop small, I would buy other Etsy shops, and then it just like kind of spiraled. So I decided to hire some brand reps. You're looking at them besides my daughter. This little kid here on the left, River, he's like one of my favorites to this day. Like I still follow him and his mom, and I'm like, what are they doing these days, you know? But I basically told these people, like, you can get 20% off of my items on my Etsy shop in order for you to repost pictures, and hopefully, you know, they would pair it with some other small shop. So that's kind of how I started, and it was really just, I don't know, it was crazy. So here are some other designs that we did, and as you can see, it was all like Hispanic culture, and it's just interesting. And I would just hope that they would tag the other shops, and the bigger shops would tag me, you know, and maybe they had 40,000 followers. So here's, I wanted to show y'all some examples. So that's my daughter later on in life, and Instagram has this photo tagging ability, which we all know. I'm sad that I can't tag shops anymore if I tag products, right? Because you can either do one or the other when you're posting a picture, but these reps would just tag the shop. So it was like, wow, you know, this is Miss Jennifer Camellia over here, and those are all the shops that she was wearing. So I would just like, so I would say if you were just starting, like, you know, when it comes to Flatlays or whatever, you could maybe buy things from other big boutiques or whatever and put them in your Flatlays, just in hopes that it'll help you spread just that brand awareness and what you're building for yourself, you know. And it might not, it's hit or miss, but that's how this started. So then later I decided that online Flatlays were like my favorite thing in the world. There used to be a website called Polyvore. When I was making this, I went to Polyvore and I could not, it's not even there anymore. Has anybody ever used Polyvore? It's pretty fun. Like, I think that's what a lot of bloggers used to use to make outfits, and they would like talk about the outfits. And so what I ended up doing was this Bizarre app. Y'all should write this down. And then basically you can screenshot pictures. So my little Day of the Dead skull onesie there, I screenshotted that picture. This app allows you to white out everything else in the picture, and then I would pull screenshot pictures from other Etsy shops and create these little like manual Flatlays, I guess. And it became like this hobby. It was really weird. I just felt like I was doing this all the time, and I would put major thought processes into it, and it was like, it was just crazy. So same concept, I would make them with my designs in hopes that these other small makers would repost them. Yeah, I'm like, I had the free time to do this. I was like, and this was when I was still teaching.
Wait, Morgan, just a quick question.
Yes.
So you screenshot yours and you made
Yes.
that a centerpiece.
And theirs.
You tagged yourself,
Yes.
And you tagged them.
Yes.
You gave them the credit.
Exactly. Because, you know, when you're first starting, you know, you might use your Levi's or whatever that's in your closet, you know, with your Flatlay. Say you're an online boutique. Well, you could tag Levi's and you can tag these other brands, right? Maybe it's from Target, because those customers, they ask all the time, where is that from? You know, they always want what you aren't selling, right? They're like, where is that? Are you selling that?
And you were doing yours, you started on Instagram.
Yes, and this was just an Instagram hobby, like from my personal Instagram. And it was just kid stuff. So it was literally from this that it was my husband. I think he got tired of the fabric taking over our house. my cousin is Frogstone's boutique, and she's the one that introduced me to the hub. And I got in there and I had about 20 wholesale accounts, because eventually I was like, well, I have to make myself a shirt, right? And so I've strayed away from kids now and doing more focus on adult stuff. But yeah, it's very interesting. So I want to ask you guys, why do you think Flatlays work? Like, just in general. Shows them the style? Yes, for sure. It's giving him a suggestion. Yes. You're not seeing it on a particular body.
We like on our website how they look kind of uniform.
Yes. Consistency. It's a big deal. So my personal experience, and this is just my take on model photos. I am blonde. I love tattoos. I love rock and roll. So I only relate to blonde models, right? So I want you to analyze your customer, right? And who is she? Is she, a 40-year-old mom? Is she an empty nester? Like, is your model and your pictures reflecting that? So that's where I get way more likes on my Instagram page on Flatlays than I do my model photos. And it's because we aren't judging that person. You know what I mean? Like, she's not me. And that looks awesome on her, but I have a long torso and that might look awful on me. So people like to know what it looks like on a body, so I like to throw them in there still, but at the same time, so here's 2 examples, which, by the way, I want y'all to take note that on every single t-shirt, so I sell t-shirts and I make t-shirts, but I also take pride in my store. I was telling my friends yesterday, like, I've turned into this Texas gift shop, which is fine. I'm like, who knew? Somebody comes in from out of town, they come into my store and all they want is Texas anything. And I'm like, okay, so I have brands like Texas True Threads, and I have these other brands that I carry in my store, and I tell them, like, yeah, this is more expensive. My t-shirts retail $36 to $38, and it's because they are like sewn, like an actual person sews the shapes on the shirts. So I base all of my pricing, like these I sell all day for $34, which is crazy because I know some of you guys sell the same shirt for $28, but I still sell it. And it's like, if you find that average and you can get away with it, you can always come down, right? You can never take your prices back up. So when I opened, I was like, I'm going to aim high because, so yeah, here's my brunette model. I love her to death. It's a friend of mine. I don't relate myself to her. But the one thing that I do like to do is to add sunglasses, or I'll cut off their eyes, or I'll give like some kind of, leave that customer imagining, themselves rather than that. So here's another example. And I like that picture itself. Like, I love her and I love that picture, but I got more likes on the Flatlay picture than I did of her, And it's like, why is that? So here's the sense of wonder that I was talking about through photography with me cutting off their eyes. By the way, that's my blonde model that I relate to. Like, does that make sense? Like a sense of wonder, like it's almost like Flatlays, but not, and still giving it on the body. So when it comes to picture taking, that's weird. I don't know what happened to my slides there. So I originally started with ViscoCam. It's VSCO, just an app on the iPhone. And I would take pictures, and I found that it was more clear than my regular camera on my phone. And on the half that y'all can't see, I was gonna show y'all I was gonna show y'all one with my camera and one with my actual iPhone, which I'll show in a second. My editing app that I still use to this day is Afterlight, and all I focus on always is brightness. I like a clear, bright picture, and saturation. And saturation just adds the color, makes it a little more vibrant, makes it a little more interesting, and it fits my aesthetic. I recently, I'm gonna say, I outsourced photography there for a little bit, and I could not get my vision across, and I was kind of sad. And so I was just like, well, I'm gonna buy my own camera, and I, have taken it upon myself. So I bought this Canon Rebel T7i, and it's amazing because it literally has like Bluetooth that connects to my phone. I download those photos, I edit it with that Afterlight, plop them online or wherever they need to go. Like, technology blows my mind. I wanna say what's underneath this white block as well is the background paper. I bought some from Amazon. You can buy like the packs of the wood. So I'll show y'all a few different ones. So I like to take advantage of my surroundings when it comes to the backgrounds. So up in the top right on the Blame It on Texas shirt, that is just Amazon paper. Natural lighting is key. Like today, we're not going to be able to get good white lighting, but that, and there's the awesome camera, like, I don't even know what they're called. Like, I've never used those before in my life. Like, I find a good window and I plop my paper down and I throw some stuff together. But when I say take advantage of your surroundings, I go to this place in Montrose called, y'all should look this up, it's amazing. It's called the Montrose Studios, and they are known for this confetti room, right? And these people come in there and they throw confetti and they take pictures, and it's like this huge Instagram phenomenon. And like, these kids who made this up are amazing. Well, I've been doing my photo shoots there because I feel like it fits my aesthetic and my fiesta lifestyle that I got going on. And I looked at the ground when I was in there and I was like, I gotta do a flat lay. And so I took this picture. So that's what this confetti one is. And then I just moved into a new house that's got awesome windows everywhere. And so the friend shirt, I was like, what's from my store? I got to take a picture. And I like grabbed a shirt out of my closet and threw it on the floor. And it was like that natural lighting and just the background. Like, no matter where I am, I'm like, ooh, this will make a good flat lay. Somebody today has been like, oh, that's the baby from your Flatlays. Like, yeah, the baby is my new flat lay friend. So I love taking advantage also of my serape blankets. So that one, the Keep Texas and Salsa Spicy, that is with the Visco cam, just with my iPhone. I would say the rest, and the Friends one is also with my iPhone, whereas the Blame It on Texas and this one are my Rebel, Canon Rebel. So the tips and tricks that I am gonna sit here and try to beat into your head: consistency in all things. And it's not just flat lays, but it's, if you're consistent with this one product and it sells, stay there, Pick a theme. So what are you selling? This particular flat lay that I did was around Valentine's. So I said, okay, I need a Valentine's Day theme. I made this keyhole tee with the heart and threw some stuff on there. There's a little heart trinket tray holding some bracelets. I'm not the biggest fan of adding small jewelry to flat lays, only because I feel like it's just there. It's not the main focus. So I would say, okay, this is my focus and I'm gonna branch out from there. Angles and spacing, I'm gonna go into that in a few seconds, and then the full outfit. So we want to sell full outfits, right? I wanna sell the whole picture. I'm not just focusing on my keyhole. I'm not just focusing on the bralette. I'm going to sell the whole thing as one, because upselling is key. So here's some consistency or themed items. The one on the right with the men's items, that was one I did for Father's Day last year. So basically, you know, you'll notice that everything is either equally spaced or just full on, like, it's just consistent across the board. So here on the left was one that we did for dog or animal lovers, I guess, gifting items around Christmas time. So yeah, there's those. So you pick your theme and you go with it. Oh man, I'm sad. So this one was a pineapple theme on the right, and does anybody see that Have a Willy Nice Christmas? That's what the one on the left was a Christmas theme. So when it comes to angles and spacing, I know a lot of people like to do flatlays at an angle, right? There's a lot of boutique people, and I am not about that life. And I'm just gonna tell you why. Think of Forever 21, right? You go in there, and you don't want to shop in there, right? It's a hot mess. There's stuff everywhere. People do not care for chaos. I associate angles with chaos, right? So if things are more aligned and vertical and very square and black and white, people are more likely to stop and look at that picture, to me. And that's just my opinion. If I do things like the bag on the left, if I do throw some angles in there, it's to show fun, right? It's gonna add some interest. It's like, ooh, what are those things popping out of the bag, you know? So all of my stuff is very, very square. And I associate that with t-shirts being stacked. You know, if things are angled and they're all different, it actually makes people feel uneasy. And that's something I learned from Dillard's, like just putting things on shelves, and we want it very square and up and down. And that in itself I've translated into Flatlays, and I think it's very true if you think about it. But if you're gonna go angles, you better go all angles, you know? If y'all look at my feed right now, it's all gonna be mostly up and down. And I just feel like Flatlays are one of those things I've tried delegating out, and I'm just not with my boutique. I'm like, oh, like today I'm like, will you please send me some Flatlay pictures? And I'm like, I know I'm not gonna like them as much as if I did them, but angles and spacing are huge. These are two pictures that were a little more spaced out. I'm gonna go back to this. So if I do space things out, I make sure that the men's Flatlay, like it's equally spaced throughout, if that makes sense. So like the negative space in between the items are just even in general. Whereas something like my Mi Casa, Su Casa up here, if it's not spaced, I'm actually gonna overlap it just a little bit to make it touch. And when things are touching, same concept, we wanna sell the whole outfit, right? So it makes it look like it's cohesive and it's all one thing, rather than we're selling, I'm gonna say men's gift items, you know, which they might not buy all of that for their dad, but maybe a few of the items. So I love layering and making things touch as well. So we all know those kimonos or those weird, awkward items, and you're like, how do I take pictures of these? My best advice is, well, for one, you wanna make sure things are in order, right? You will never, ever, ever see my Flatlays with shoes at the head, okay? You don't wear your shoes up here, right? So you want it in order in which you would wear it. Same how we merchandise walls. I don't ever merchandise my shorts way up here above the tops, right? So I consider Flatlays the same kind of thing. You want to make sure you start with the main item. So here it's gonna be my Serape tee, and this was clearly in the winter. But she's still rocking those sandals because we're in Houston. So we put on the sweater and we're adding life to her by rolling her sleeves, and we're making her a little more interesting. And then I love like taking a sweater or kimono and just like cinching that waist in. So it's kind of like adding, giving her a waist in general. So same with this dress on the right. That dress, does anybody have that dress in their store right now? Because it's selling like hotcakes. It's so good. The black one is phenomenal, so good. But, you know, like if you just cinch the dress is long, and it looks like a t-shirt here, I know, but it's like if you just cinch it and give it a little more life, then it's going to actually reflect more of an outfit and something that someone can relate to. Now, as you can see, the layering is going on. I'm a fan of like, well, for one, my mannequins in my store, everything has to have threes. It's got, you know, a kimono, a pant, a top, and then we're gonna add more accessorize. I don't even consider my accessories like part of the three. Like you need shoes and this and that, and layer it up because we're here to sell multiple things and a full outfit compared to, you know, the one t-shirt. So here's some more examples. This Slay My Name one here on the left got too many likes. I was like, really? I did that? And I was like, I didn't think it was that awesome. But, you know, and all I did, it was a sweatshirt, and I just tied it underneath her arms there. And once again, you can see that it's kind of spaced out, but I adjust it to the squares like of Instagram is how I envision the pictures when I take them. And I will tell you this, I will always take my picture from up top, like directly down, never at like an angle such as this, just because I feel like it's more appealing that way. This kimono here on the right with my serape shirt, that Flatlays sold all of those kimonos that day. And it was ridiculous. I was like, really? That's not my style, by the way. I haven't even told y'all this. Well, I kind of said that I'm kind of like a rock and roll, like you can find me at the concerts and like, you know, but I have found my stores in Montgomery, Texas, in a rural area. My husband is country as they come. My dad's a cowboy. And, you know, I figure out who she is, and then what is she into? What is she asking for? And then relate it to my boutique and how can it enhance my designs. And maybe they're gonna come in and buy my cactus shirt with that kimono and that ridiculous koozie. I can't tell y'all how many times somebody has asked us what does AF mean? In my boutique, and remind you, I'm across the street from a retirement community, so my entire, that I live in, by the way, my husband, he golfs, and that's his thing, and yeah, he fits right in with the older men. But, you know, my person is anywhere from 17 to 75, and I've had risque, I'm gonna call this koozie a little risque, but I sell out of that, and it's because it was a risk, and maybe it's not something that they would normally find in an area in which we're in, which leads to the customer. So I have sat here and analyzed every entity in which I have come from, as far as my Facebook person and my Instagram person and my in-store person, and trying to portray the same image across to all of those people it's crazy and it's madness. And I think if we, you know, I'm here to tell y'all, my Instagram person started with me, right? They're that Hispanic culture. They're the ones that I was tagging the photos of way back in the day. Well, I have them and I have more now. So my Instagram posts, sometimes I cater my posts to that person. You know, it's like, I think this Let's Get Smashed Tea, which Serena right here on the front row made that. And Like that was for Cinco de Mayo when I did that. And I posted it and I was like, I'm gonna throw it on both Facebook and Instagram because I was like, they're gonna love this. And a customer, I'm not even kidding, responded to my Facebook and she's like, I'm on my way. And I was like, whoa. And I actually didn't even see it until after she came in the store and bought it. And then later, like, I don't get Facebook notifications apparently, but it was just crazy. So, I think, just like everybody, I have my Facebook group, and that's more of my in-store customer, and it's very hard to juggle between all of them. But I think what I have found, whether it be Fiesta or Western, because this shirt has definitely been translated into Western here lately in the rural area that we live in, no matter what, if you maintain that consistency through your brand, and when I say brand, I'm not just talking about, Texas True Threads. Like, I'm talking about your store. Like, we are here branding ourselves, right? Because we build this like tribe who wants to shop with us. And so you have to find your niche, and mine just happens to be Fiesta, and I'm, next to a Mexican food restaurant, and it just works. And I don't even know how I got this gig or, what led to this, but it's like, if you find your passion and what you're into, stay there and they will come to you through all entities, for sure. So, do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am. It's called the Montrose Studios, and it's awesome. I could show y'all some other pictures, which y'all can look at my feed, or just look at Montrose Studios on Instagram. They're phenomenal. They've been doing pop-ups. Like, who's from the Houston area around here? There's this group called HTX Boss Babes that is like a friend of mine started that in Houston, and they just hosted an event this weekend, and the Montrose Studios people were there, and they have been doing like little pop-up things. And get this, I'm going to tell you all a little bit about them, because they took a very small idea, like it's a house with windows, and they just changed the theme. So they have the confetti room, they had like a unicorn land, they had a winter wonderland, and they charge people like $10 a head to come in for 10 minutes and take your little boomerangs or whatever in their room, and then they go on their merry way. I'm like, this is brilliant, yeah, it's really, really cool. So any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You do your Flatlays and you said you'd take your pictures so you were right in front of them?
Yes.
How do you get over without getting your feet in the picture?
Something I learned last year. So the Rolling J spoke on this last year, and she is one of my Flatlay goddesses. Like, her Flatlays are phenomenal. She uses a ladder. I will tell you, I was doing Flatlays at 38 weeks pregnant, and that is a chore in itself. But like I said, it's one thing I can't delegate. I think because I make sure that everything is so tight knit too, I'm able to do it from right here, and then I use my cropping on my phone or whatever to crop out my feet. Another question? Yes, ma'am. I don't. Auto. And I turn the flash off. I hate the flash. That just ruins the color and everything. Do you have any others? Yes.
How many Flatlays do you do, like, a day or a week?
I post 3 times a day, or I try to. Haven't done my lunchtime crowd yet today. And I was like, I could just take a picture of you guys and post that and be like, sorry, I was busy. But I try to do 5 at a time, and I probably do that 2 to 3 times a week. I'm trying to delegate it. I actually gave this entire presentation to my staff the other day, and then kind of gave it on their hands. And the one feedback that I got back from, I asked the hub just in general, like, hey, I'm speaking on this, you know, is there anything? And somebody had recommended some hands-on techniques. So I had brought these bags, which I don't know if anybody wants to volunteer and play with my stuff. I was like, we could even do Flatlays with y'all's goodie bags because there's some good stuff in there. So if y'all want, we can break out. I think we have like 8 minutes or so, but my bags are kind of themed. Fortunately, the camera's not going to get this, but. So while they're doing that, does anybody else have any questions? I think I'm gonna put them on my story so everybody can see the pictures, and I'm sure Ashley's gonna want them. Yes, ma'am. I prefer model pictures on my website for the most part. If I get a good flat lay, when it comes to my website, I like everything vertical too. If y'all want to look at that, it's kind of pretty consistent. If I get a good flat lay picture, I'll be like, you know, with graphic tees or something. But I like to use both of them for them. I'm sorry? SweetTexasTreasures.com. You had a question? I would full-blown, like, ladder status. Like, I'm trying to think if I've tried to do this one, but I would cinch legs and do some kind of crazy things on the side to go with it. Yeah. You know, maybe we got a purse and a hat up here. That was one app that I use an app called InstaSize as well. And it basically will take a long photo like that and can press it down to an Instagram size photo. You know, so InstaSize, I strongly recommend that. So if you look at my Instagram page right now, it's just Sweet Texas Treasures Boutique. There's a lot of white on the sides of my pictures, and that's what that app does. And it sucks because it does take up more of your room, right? Because I got the original photo and then I got my InstaSize photo, but for the most part, it's pretty fun. I had a question over here. Yes. Yes, so I recently did a romper where I kind of folded it up at an angle, and I think that makes it look fun. You know, it's like, what is she doing while she's wearing that maxi? Maybe she's going to a wedding, she's kicking up her leg, I don't, you know, but yeah, I recommend that. I would still maintain that structure of the straight with the top piece, and then fill in the bottom with the shoes and a handbag and then something else, so it's still like this, but she could have, so sometimes like pants and stuff, I like to give it some life. Yes, ma'am. Maybe a bell sleeve? Yeah. So like on a bell sleeve item, I always fold them in half. And I'll like put the sleeve out this way, cinch the waist, and just keep it here, and then maybe the pants and the shoes on this side to form that square. Bell sleeves are hard, or just kimonos in general. I would say as long as it has a waist, or the shape of the actual sleeve rather than it just like laying there and you're like, what is this, you know? Collars are kind of weird too, you know? Oh my goodness, they're so good. They're so good. Yes, ma'am.
So I've noticed there's this brand with like doing the inverse spotlight and kind of like cutting off the products. Do you think that's beneficial, or do you think that's cool if you just put an entire spotlight instead?
What I've been doing lately with that would be like doing the full view, right? And say there's like maybe a bracelet or something I really want to focus on. Because we have the option to swipe now and add multiple pictures, I'll do the zoom on the next picture. You know, so exactly. and I'll mention it in my caption as well. That's another thing, is captions are huge, you know? So with just the boutique industry in general and everything that we're buying, we're creating a need. And why do our customers need this, right? What makes them come in and buy it? The caption has a lot to do with that. You know, maybe it's a holiday coming up, or maybe it's this. So I think captions are huge and we should pay attention to that. But when it comes to multiple pictures, I would say swipe right to see a close-up, you know, or something like that, maybe in parentheses. Yes, ma'am? Like, I love that white crisp look a lot of times. So I would say, say Afterlight, the little bar is in the center, I'll probably go like 25% on both saturation but it's really, in saturation, you could take away the color a little bit to give it a more muted look. I'm all about like the true colors of the items, because, you know, nobody wants to buy something that, you know, if it looks different when they receive it in their, like in the mail. Yes, ma'am.
But if you have trouble getting that true color, I mean, sometimes certain colors in particular are hard to get.
I never have. I think that natural light has a lot to do with it. I really do. Is it'll bring out the true color. I think y'all need to walk up here and see what they did, because it's kind of phenomenal. I'm really excited. Any other questions or anything? Yes, ma'am. I think just the overall theme and like your brand is what I mean when consistency. You know, somebody showed us their Flatlay feed last night at dinner, and it was like model pick, Flatlay, model pick, and that's kind of what I do. So even consistency in that, you know. But I get upset with the model pictures sometimes, and because I don't get enough likes on them, you know.